Next question comes from Cynthia Mulligan from City News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Premier, I'm wondering why mandatory testing isn't required regularly of teachers to catch anything before it might erupt.
You know, I think a lot of people think that testing is going to really solve the whole problem, and it isn't. It's one component of a response. If you test somebody today, you only know if they're infected today. And in fact, if you're testing in a population that doesn't have very much COVID, you'll get false positives almost half the time. That is, the person actually doesn't have COVID, they have something else, they may have nothing. So it will just complicate the picture.
And here's the other thing that people need to know about these measures. You know, when I hear about positive and negative testing, I laugh. First of all, the test that they're using to diagnose COVID, the SAR, the SARS-CoV-2 virus that's supposed to lead to the COVID-19 illness. The test that they're using, its inventor was very specific, is not a diagnostic tool for medical purposes. It just picks up fragments of DNA sequences, basically. And so we have not yet isolated the virus. People have to understand this. Until you isolate, purify, and reproduce the virus, you can't be testing for the virus. If you don't know what it looks like, you can't be testing for it. What they are doing is guessing at a positive from by stringing along certain DNA sequences. But when they test you, they're picking up all the garbage and other stuff in your system that's there. So for instance, if you had the corona flu vaccine last year, you will test positive for COVID-19 because it's picking that up as a partial DNA strand from last year's vaccine. So until you identify the virus by isolating it, first of all, you have to isolate it. You then have to purify it, get rid of all the garbage around the virus. And then to make sure you got the right virus, you have to reproduce it and inject it in animal testing to make sure that it gives the actual illness you say it gives. They haven't done any of that. So initially, when they started diagnosing people with positive results, they were doing it based on symptoms, symptomatic manifestations. If it looked like the SARS or previous coronavirus, you cannot say that somebody has tested positive based on symptoms. And so they went from symptoms then. So if you were one who was tested positive for being virus symptomatic, anybody who was in your social proximity or was part of your contact tracing network that had similar symptoms also became positive. And so this is a farce, but it's not a very funny farce. So we're in the Ontario Superior Court and we're suing the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. We are suing the Premier of Ontario, it's like your governor down in the States for the state, and the Mayor of the City of Toronto as well. But we go to the depth and substance of the actual measures as being unconstitutional. And so the first thing we seek is that a declaration from the court that the COVID measures are neither scientifically nor medically based. They're scientifically and medically irrational and arbitrary. By far, probably to a factor of 12 to 14 to 1, more people have died as a direct result of the COVID measures than they've actually died from the purported COVID-19. This is all about retooling the world order, the new economic world order. It's got nothing to do with health.
Rocco has a Twitter handle that he wants everybody to follow, and
I will have that below in the show notes, and I also have it here up on the screen. If you're listening to this in audio and podcast form, you can get it on the show page at sarahwestall.com. You can also go to Twitter and look up Rocco Galati Law, and that's essentially his Twitter handle. And you'll be able to find it there. And he's going to be having the case every day. He's posting something. If you want to follow the case, if you want to help out, that's how you can get hold of him.